Welcome to the conversation. We are back for another episode. It's Emotional Health Day. We've got a great show for you. And on our second half, we've got our resident expert, Sherice Cross, who will be joining us to talk about how to stay healthy and stress-free. We're looking forward to that. So the gang is all here. Greg Kirkland.
Yeah, I am.
D. Marcus Smith.
Hey, you already know what it is. Let's get it.
And the Jeff Fauntleroy.
I see you over there looking like you look, doing what you do.
That's that brooch that Jeff got on over.
Looking mighty dapper over there. I'm glad you know.
I do like that. I like
Don't touch it.
I like that.
Don't
What's
touch
that?
it. Don't touch
Is
it.
that the medallion of the Black Madonna?
Wakanda forever.
I like that. I like that. Where you get that from?
Wakanda forever. Okay.
I can't cross me so much.
I saw that.
That was,
So I want to know the family dollar.
it's a good suit. I don't want to mess this up.
All right. I got a tough getting to know you question today, y'all.
Okay.
If you could ask God one question that he would answer on the spot,
Wow.
what would that question be? Let's start with you, DeMarcus. One question. If you
One
could ask
question
him
if I
one
could ask
question
God.
that you could ask God.
Am I gonna make it to heaven?
That's a good
Hey,
question.
that's a good one now.
I need to
That's
know.
a good
You
one.
just hope that he don't.
That way
Right.
Look,
If he
that
just
way I
hug
know
you
what
now-
I need to do.
If he just hug you.
That way I know how to live out the rest.
Well, I think if he's telling you no, you're already decided where you're going. Jeff, what about you? What about you, Jeff?
I'm not ready for that yet.
Well,
Oh,
you not ready?
ready.
No,
Answer.
not yet.
You want me to answer?
Yeah, I'd
Go ahead,
ready.
Greg.
Yeah. Give me
Believe
some
it or not.
Give me some insight.
believe it or not,
Okay.
if I could ask God one question, I would ask him, why did you make men and women so different? If I could ask God one question,
Going back
That's
out to
what I
that
would ask
island
him.
again.
Okay.
why would
No,
you
that's
make
good.
men and
No,
women
that's
so
not.
different?
Why did
Okay.
you make them so different?
So different.
What you mean?
He made women emotional,
Oh God.
and he made men solution driven.
Oh my! You just do that hole you started digging the last episode. You work.
I just wanted to hear. I
You're
want to
working
know.
on it. Okay.
We gonna talk about that one day. though.
Okay. Jeff, are you ready now?
I am so ready now. You know, I just say thank you for being available.
We said a question.
can't-
Oh, okay. Question.
Never
Just
fails.
always
My
do this.
question. My question would be.
There's not a question that you want to ask God.
Let me tell you what God would ask you. Why are the shoes? What are those?
Wow. Wow, that's disrespectful. But go
Well,
ahead, Jeff.
These are Mataganis, man.
Who?
Okay, these are Mataganis, man. That's fine Italian leather.
All right, I'm sorry.
That is.
Can you
that-
answer the question?
Oh,
though,
I'm
please?
sorry.
Can you get to the question?
Okay. Wow, man, that's a deep question, man.
Like a deep answer.
I don't know if I would ask God anything. Where'd you rest on the seventh day? I don't know.
Ron, what's
the next question,
that you answer? What would you ask him?
I would ask him how long I have on this life.
I don't want to know that.
I do.
I don't.
I want to know. I just want to know. It's just I just want to know. If I could ask one question, I want to know. When am I?
Is there a better
Is
way
the
to
expiration
prepare
date?
Wagyu
what is
steak?
it?
I don't know.
All right.
Is there a better way to cook a steak? I don't
That
know.
was a wasted question on you.
I'm
Jeff.
sorry, man.
Okay. Are y'all ready for the conversation?
Yes.
I don't question God. Ain't the
Look.
Bible say don't question the Lord?
We know it's we're talking about emotional health today. Looking forward to Sherice Cross joining us later in the episode. But let's talk about stress.
Stress.
Okay, and I did some research. The Mayo Clinic. We did some stuff on there, talking about how to get active and relieve stress, but also on NBC.com, they listed the most stress-free cities and the most stressful cities in America. It was kind of interesting. The most stress-free cities in America: Lincoln, Nebraska; Boise, Idaho; Sioux Falls, South Dakota; Fargo, North Dakota; Overland Park, Kansas. You see the theme about it in the
Absolutely.
Midwest out there. I don't know why that is. Bismarck, North Dakota; Madison, Wisconsin; South Burlington, Vermont; Fremont, California; Billings, Montana. Those are the 10
Wow.
the
Nature.
least stressful.
Nature.
Well, you know,
Nature.
Maybe that's what it. Maybe that's what it.
you make a good point though,
that?
because earlier this year I traveled to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and I had never experienced that level of serenity.
Wow.
Like no distractions.
Man, listen, the air was so crisp. The mountains everywhere. When you land in Jackson Hole, you land on the tarmac, and then you have to, exit the plane on the tarmac. And the second that you get off the plane, you just met with probably one of the greatest backdrops that you could ever imagine.
That's interesting. Because one of my good friends, Eric, who was on that trip with
Yes,
you
sir.
earlier this year when you
Yes,
all
sir.
went, the day after he got there, he called and said, "Hey, I forgot to let you know that I'd be out of town and I'm in Wyoming." He said, "You will not believe
Oh, my gosh.
My
the
stepbrother
scenery."
lives in Jackson.
He said,
Hole.
"You
Oh,
will
my
never
gosh.
believe the scene." He said, "It is the most
I've never-
amazing
Yeah.
mountains and all that." So
Listen,
that could have something to do with
When
it.
I got home, the day I arrived home and I got to Hartsfield, when I walked out the door of Hartsfield, I was met with smog,
Yeah.
cigarette smoke,
Gotcha.
just congestion,
I can see.
and I was able to see it. Immediately I said, I wish I could go back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
You know what though? For me, every day, I pray and meditate, and the meditation has to do with nature. If I'm home, I go to the backyard in silence and solitude and listen to the birds. If I'm here throughout the day, I'll sit outside and listen to the birds. Nature for me is my stress relief.
Sure.
Prayer, we say, is talking to God. Meditation for me is listening to God.
Sure.
So every day I try to take that in.
Sure.
Gotcha. Now, the 10 most stressful cities.
My God. Atlanta.
No, actually, Atlanta's not on the list.
What?
Atlanta or Atlanta?
Atlanta.
Yeah.
Atlanta.
Jackson, Mississippi.
I can see why.
Oh yeah.
I would be stressed if I lived there too. Sorry.
Mobile,
Anybody who's
Alabama.
watching from Jackson.
Boy, you on a roll
Mobile.
today.
Mobile.
Same.
St. Louis.
Wow.
St. Louis?
New Orleans.
Yeah,
Food.
stressful? New
Why
Orleans?
can you be that
because
stressed with all that food?
These areas are like high intensity and crime and
yeah.
Baltimore, Maryland.
Yeah.
Oh,
These are
yeah.
crime
Newark,
areas.
New Jersey.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Brick
Gulfport, Mississippi.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Birmingham.
So
Damn.
Mississippi and Alabama just stay away.
Detroit.
Oh, the
Yes,
D.
sir.
303.
And Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So those are most-
Yeah.
Murder capitals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
you're
a lot
gonna be
of stress.
stressed out when you can't go outside.
Well, you on a roll today, Greg.
So-
I'm sorry. Just,
Everybody-
oh my
nobody
God.
say
So
today.
Jeff touched on it a little
Don't let
bit.
me off
So
this show.
let's start with you, Greg. How do you unwind? Just how do you unwind? Relief stress?
To Jeff's point, I would say similar. My wife is more of a nature person than I am with regards to like hiking and getting out, But I'm the type of person where I love water. And I don't necessarily mean like going to the pool or anything like that. I love water. Like I will sit, when it's raining,
Yeah.
I will just sit and watch the rain.
Yeah.
I'll sit on the porch as it's raining and just watch the rain.
Yeah.
Waterfalls, just being able to hear that. It's serenity is what kind of gives
Being
me
out on
stress
the
relief.
island.
Exactly.
That's what's up.
By yourself.
Okay. DeMarcus, what about you?
Y'all clanging and banging in the dungeon.
What about you?
Clanging and banging in the dungeon.
He's a weightlifter.
Weightlifting.
Okay.
I
Okay.
can't hit nothing no more.
Clanging
I can't
and
hit
banging.
nobody no more. So I've always had this outlet of just taking it out on weights.
Okay. Gotcha. All right.
Sounds like
accord-
therapy to me, sir.
The MayoClinic.org stress relievers. It's some of the ways they say you can help relieve stress, according to the Mayo Clinic. Get active.
Yeah.
See that?
Eat healthy.
Yeah. you look
Avoid
at me?
unhealthy habits.
Why you look at me when you said eat healthy?
Keep going, Ron. Keep going.
Avoid
Keep going,
unhealthy
Ron.
habits.
Ron, keep going.
Like arguing with you. That's unhealthy. Meditate.
Yeah.
Laugh more.
Oh.
Yeah, for sure.
Connect. This is interesting to me. Connect with others instead of isolating.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That was kind of shocking to me.
We're communal
I can see
people
that.
by
I can
Connect
see
with
nature.
that.
others.
Yeah, I
We're
can see that.
communal
And maybe
people
that's
by
what it is.
nature.
That's what. Not to cut you off.
No,
and
that's fine.
cut
Go
off the
ahead.
list, but that's what hurt so many people during the pandemic. Isolation.
Yeah.
The inability to be able to touch
I
and connect.
heard
and-
somebody, I
Yeah.
can't remember, it was just yesterday. Somebody was talking about their nephew being in childcare with other children now
Yeah.
and how they are growing
Absolutely.
more
Absolutely.
because of
Absolutely.
socialization.
Well, my wife
And
and I,
communion.
we had a pandemic baby.
Okay.
Me too.
My son was born March 8th, and the world shut down. March 11th
Yeah.
Community.
of 2020.
Yeah.
And so he was home
Absolutely.
Yeah.
for 2 years
Yep.
with just his mom and I, and his brother, of course. But just being able to now put him into school
Yeah.
and him getting acclimated to being around other,
Socialization, man.
absolutely.
Good.
Yeah, that's big.
That's good. Next one is assert yourself.
I can see that.
Search
You know,
yourself.
instead, I guess instead of
keeping
holding it
it,
in, assert yourself. And they were talking about on that. It talked about saying no.
Yes.
It's okay to
That's
say
good.
no
That's
sometimes
good.
to things.
No
People
is a
tend
whole
to
sentence.
you say yes
It's
to
a whole
everything and
lifestyle.
overwhelm yourself.
Yeah.
So say
Yes,
yes.
sir.
Try yoga.
Yeah, I tried
Says you
that.
gotta try yoga. Get enough sleep.
Yeah.
Oh, I get that.
How much sleep do you get?
Maybe 5 hours.
Me
a
too.
night.
I'm like
Maybe
that too.
5
I
hours
function
a
on
year?
5.
I
What
get
about you?
2 to 3.
Ooh, wow. Just
on,
just
man.
straight hours of sleep. Well,
2 to
you got-
3
yeah,
straight.
you got- yeah. What about you, Jeff?
7 to 8. I go to REM. I get
Well,
REM.
you know, Pop Pop.
No,
Pop
I
gonna sleep,
take-
dog.
I-
Pop Pop. Listen, when his wife put that house coat on, they finished them biscuits. She roll them biscuits, dog. She put the house
You been
coat
holding
on.
on
Pop
now.
Pop is going to bed, dog. You hear me?
Wow.
Okay, I'm
all right.
You are on a roll
He's
today,
on one
sir.
today.
I take CBD oil. So it shuts me down. It shuts my brain down. Otherwise,
you
I'd be
just
thinking.
use the oil or you use the cigarette. Never mind. That's another
Yeah,
show.
leave it alone.
That's another show.
Leave it alone.
Let's keep on with the list. Keep a journal. Keep
Okay.
a journal. Journaling that's healthy. Keep
Yes,
a
sir.
journal. All
I
right.
don't like.
This is surprising me too. Get musical
Oh, yeah.
I can see
or
that.
be
yeah.
creative.
Of
Get
course.
Yeah,
musical.
yeah.
Of course.
Or be creative, like art,
Yeah.
painting, and things
Sure.
like that. So
Yeah.
that's one. So
Yeah. Sure.
And what do y'all think the last one?
Oh,
was?
Doc, I was waiting to
I
see
know
what's
what
it
it
on
is.
there.
What?
Sex.
No.
Come on.
Sex.
No, that's
rattle,
not on
and
the
Come
list.
on, man.
That can't-
is
that's
not
gotta
on
be.
there?
It wasn't on this list.
Oh.
Well, we gonna
Yeah,
add
we
it.
didn't make
Number-
that list.
We're
number
gonna add
11.
it.
Yeah.
Email them. Email them.
It's
Number
still-
11.
I'm asking you what. Okay.
As a man and as a
Stress
marriage,
reliever?
as a marriage.
Stress reliever?
Yeah.
Seek counseling was the last.
Nah.
one.
Therapy.
Okay.
Therapy.
That'll be
Seek
therapy.
counseling.
That's therapy.
Yeah.
Well, sex is therapy.
That's therapy.
Marital.
You're right. Yeah.
Marital.
Right.
Marital.
So
Right.
you didn't already open the can.
Right,
open the
what
window.
he said.
I'm,
What he
I'm
said.
talking about a married
So
man.
In the
and
married
start with you,
bedroom.
DeMarcus, on this next question. What causes you the most stress or worry? What do you when you find yourself stressful? What is it that you find yourself worried about or stressing about?
Just gonna get me in trouble.
Being overwhelmed when I can't control the controllables anymore. Because I'm pretty good with patience and being able to maneuver and handle and juggle a lot of things. But when I lose control or I drop something, it takes everything out for me. So being overwhelmed heavily and not being able to control things anymore.
Yeah, and DeMarcus reminds me. I joke with my sister, my brother-in-law all the time. My sisters were active, kind of outgoing. My brother-in-law is a military guy with real quiet,
Structure.
mild manner. She can go on 10 and he will stay at 1.
Yeah.
And I joke with her all the time. I say, you know what? That's a good thing, but one day we're going to come over and find you cut up in like 100 pieces because he just snapped.
He just lost it.
He just lost it.
Because
Yeah.
that's what DeMarcus reminds me, because it's like,
Yeah.
you get people who are
Yeah.
just kind of, you let everything go.
Yeah.
But when you go,
It's over.
you just
over.
go. So I think
Yeah.
you
Blow
know,
gas.
so,
Yeah.
Man, that's spot on.
Yeah.
That's really spot on.
it is.
So,
For me, for sure.
So what was it again?
Jeff, what about you?
What
What causes
stresses
you the most stress? What do you worry about? What do you stress? When you get to that point, what is it usually about?
Am I doing my best? And I'm performing at my best. And believe it or not, when my peace is broken. When my peace is broken, my serenity is broken, and people who talk too much.
Why you look at me?
No, I'm saying when like
You look right at me.
No, I'm saying some people just like
Just
keep
go.
talking,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
just idle chit chat.
Yeah.
It's no contribution to
Right,
nothing.
right.
And it's at some point with me, it's
So that's stressful or just get on your nerves, though?
it's
I think it's-
stressful to me.
Oh,
honestly.
Really?
I was gonna
Yeah.
say nerves.
Like my
Thank you.
wife
See,
can literally know when to interrupt somebody. Like if they're at
shut
my
it down.
house and they just going on, or hey, come here, let me talk to you, because she
Gotcha.
knows I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh God.
Yeah.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
gotcha.
Gotcha.
Okay, gotcha.
Gotcha.
Greg, what about you?
I'm pretty by nature.
Another-
I'm pretty even
The
keeled.
killer in the making.
Yeah, Doc.
I'm pretty even keeled. I think for me, and I won't say that this I don't know, maybe stress is not the best word for it, but for me, it's kind of like the fear of the unknown. How is the situation going to turn out?
Oh yeah.
Control plays a part in that as well. You know, how is the situation going to turn out?
Because you're a methodical thinker.
I'm a very methodical
So you
thinker.
process
I'm a
everything.
person that thinks all the way to the end.
Yeah.
So if it's a situation where I can't see how it's going to play out, that for me causes me a little bit of anxiety.
I got you.
It makes me feel like I'm good. I'll maintain and work my way through until I'm done.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go through kind
stress.
of like,
Yeah.
okay, let's see how this is going to end.
Wow.
Do you find that you put more stress on yourself, or other people put more stress on you?
I think other people put more stress on me.
Ooh, that's a good.
That is a good question.
Good.
It's kind of twofold because I'm also. It's hard to answer that because I'm also the type of person where I'm like, oh, I'm not worried about it. So it's kind of like,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
You
think
know what I'm
I
saying?
can understand from your vantage point and just think it because of the industry that you're
Exactly.
in.
Yeah.
You're in an industry where mistakes show up.
Oh yeah.
Right.
On stage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When
right.
you're performing, whether
Yeah.
singing or acting in a play,
Absolutely.
mistakes show up.
Absolutely.
And so that's a lot of pressure.
Absolutely.
To where
The majority of
everybody,
yours
some
is
mistakes,
live.
you
Absolutely.
don't really have a chance to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
you know, correct it
Absolutely.
if you're live in
Absolutely.
front of thousands of people.
Absolutely.
It happened.
And
Yeah.
so moments like hoarseness or not enough rehearsal, or
right.
you
Yeah.
know,
Right.
in those cases,
Yeah,
you know,
and I guess
it's
the outside stress could come from the people who are paying to have
Oh,
this
yes, sir.
perfect
oh yeah,
performance.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
hey, are
Because
you
again-
ready?
Because again, a lot of times it's the fear of the unknown. It's
Yeah.
like you can prepare all day, but you don't know what the day of that when it comes showtime. You don't
Right,
know
right.
if something's gonna go wrong.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna miss a cue. You just don't know. So you know, all you could do is.
Yeah, I can see
That's
that. I
different
can
for
see
you.
that being stressful.
I put more stress on myself
Yeah.
because it takes a lot for somebody to stress me out.
Yeah.
Like just stress me out takes a lot. But me, I destroy myself
Wow.
every time.
You see, yeah. Now I'm
Every time.
I'm not that. I'm not that.
Yeah. Jeff?
Yeah, I cause a lot of stress on myself because I want things to be perfection.
Yeah.
You know, I cause a lot of stress on myself. But again, I have found, unfortunately, through an illness, I've seen the importance of
Trying to say you
having
killed.
gauges
Right.
to know when I'm on that road
True.
to pull back and say, okay, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That's good. That's leading to the next question. How do you know when it's getting? How do you know what? Like some people get headaches.
Yeah.
Some people. What do you get when you know? Okay, I'm getting. Or some people have. They hyperventilate. It's different
Yeah.
things that people get when
Yeah.
they know that stress is building up. What are your signs for you, Greg, that you know that's kind of getting? You need to do something.
I get quiet. I get quiet and I get just a little testy. Just a little bit.
Yep.
Just a little bit. Like I said, I'm pretty even keeled. I'm pretty, I'm not a person that panics. It's just not, because again, in the industry, you can't panic.
Right.
Because you got to just do what
Have
you got to
some
do
composure,
to
yeah.
turn it on.
Yeah.
But I get very quiet because I don't want unnecessary chatter.
Right.
Don't talk to me about stuff that's not
Right.
necessary right now because I got too
Right.
much going on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm a person where I take 1 week at a time.
Okay.
Because I have so much always happening that if something is happening 3 months from now, I got to focus on what I'm doing now.
Right.
And I'll deal with that after I finish this.
Gotcha.
So, if I'm working on something and I got somebody that's calling me about something that's way down and they're worrying me. It's one thing when they just checking in or, just
yeah.
want updates
Right.
or whatever. But when the person's worrying you about something, that's when I get.
So,
I get
so you
tested.
said something, and I think that's why I said when people have idle chatter. I think at that moment, when that happens, it is enlarged because it is I'm stressed.
Yeah.
So now that idle chatter is just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. It's just when you and your, like I have back troubles,
Uh-huh.
When my back is bothering me, I don't like idle conversation.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I'm
That's
testy.
that pain.
Yeah.
You feel me? And so
Yeah.
those are the moments where, or if I'm working on a project and we are in the,
I need peace.
Don't bother me with stuff that's not necessary.
yeah.
So what's the sign? You say you get quiet. That's your reaction to it. But how do you know, like, what are the triggers? Is it just an emotional, where you just know, like, you're irritated? Like, you know what I mean? Is it?
Yeah,
you know
I think it's that. I think it's, you start to feel slightly irritated.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Okay.
I'm also the type of person where if something is bothering me and I recognize I'm more tested than I should be,
Yeah.
I start to ask myself questions, like do self-evaluation,
Gotcha.
like what
Right.
is it?
Right,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Am I upset about something? Did something piss me
Yeah.
off? Is something bothering me?
Gotcha.
I'm
Yeah,
just-
that's good.
When
'cause
small
people-
things start bothering you that
Yeah.
normally
Okay.
wouldn't,
Yeah, yeah,
when
yeah.
you
Gotcha.
when you
That's
would
good.
normally
Yeah.
be
You
okay
gotta
with
ask
certain
yourself,
things,
Okay.
you know,
why?
like little small things, like the dog is just happy to see you.
Okay, that's
You know
good.
what I mean?
That's
And
good.
it's like, just get away. And it's like, oh, wait a minute. hold
Okay,
on.
that's
What's-
good.
what's the
What about you,
Yeah.
DeMarcus?
I get quiet,
But what
then when
causes it? What triggers it? Like, how do you know when to get, like, what makes you get quiet? You know, is it a headache or is it just like
no.
irritability? or
So
what is
it's two things. I get quiet or I start to shut down, and if I find myself trying to escape,
Okay,
trying to leave, then I know
gotcha.
Yeah.
either let me out of this
Give it-
or
yeah,
something
okay,
bad
got
can
it,
happen.
got it.
And it's generally just
I got to go.
I gotta go
Yeah.
because it's gonna be bad for everybody.
Gotcha.
And it's generally, I think, just being overwhelmed. It's if I'm at that place, if I'm on the edge, one thing will push me over, and it's that point of no return. I've seen red one time, and I never want to see it again. Ever.
You know, a lot of people, you know, you feel yourself something shifting and you don't know what is it. You don't know that it's just it's stress. And I'm like, I get real irritable. That's how I know it's
Trying
you
to
know,
find
the,
you.
the-
Yeah.
the things that shouldn't bother you
Yeah.
bother you. So
Things
that's how I
are- you
know,
know
it's
things are off.
there's something going on because it's
leave me
irritable.
alone.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
and like you,
Yeah.
I like to isolate when I get irritable.
Yeah.
When I get irritable.
I'll go home and go to bed.
Try to find your exit.
I'll go right
Pop
home.
said he go to bed.
I'll go home and go right to bed.
And get that 7-8 hours of sleep.
No, I'll get like
he
10.
goes to REM.
Be 6 o'clock. I'll go home. I'll just
Try
I'll go
some
home.
yoga, Jeff.
Huh?
Try some yoga. Not yogurt, yoga.
OG. I ain't say no OG.
Y'all better not be laughing. That wasn't funny.
Look, we got a lot. We got a great episode segment coming up with Sherice Cross, our
stressed.
resident expert.
Yeah, we need that.
She's going to join us. We're going to talk about emotional health.
Oh, we
so
need
stay
that.
tuned. We'll be right back.
Yes, indeed.
I told y'all this season, I'm not playing with y'all. Come on. So if you say he was short, then I'll give it to you. Let's go. Can you define for us what is a homiletical method?
Preaching has fundamentals like that. And you know that if you play the scales, my dad was a jazz musician, and he played the scales and he got better and got better and got better. So preaching has fundamentals. Method is about the analysis of the fundamentals that a preacher must learn to get better. And you practice them, you play them, and you put them in effect in your sermon, and then you try to improve, and you take feedback, and you grow across time, and you become a wonderful preacher.
This is the story of a boy who is very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. It made him feel uncomfortable. One day, he found out he had something called autism. His family got him help. And slowly, he learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
How do you see those boarded up properties and eyesores in your local community?
Opportunity. This one acre property propelled me, and now I have 8 outside of this. So technically I have 9. I have 9 different, and I got into the space of a landlord, of a homeowner. So without NACA, it wouldn't be possible.
Welcome back to the conversation. It's time for That's Debatable, and we've got our resident expert, Sherice Cross, is with us today, licensed therapist and counselor. We're always glad to have you. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Thank you for bringing me back to the conversation.
Glad to have you back. She
Please
will be
help
sitting
us.
in. We had to remove Greg Kirkland
Please
from
help
the
us.
premises,
Uh-oh.
and she will be filling in for the rest of this segment. We're talking about emotional health on this issue. We talked about about stress the last segment, and just in this whole pandemic, we see so much on the news and people's emotional well-being, and I know you see a lot of it in your profession. But what impact have you seen this pandemic have on people's emotional stability?
My goodness, just a myriad of emotions. First of all, we all have experienced this traumatic experience, this traumatic wave called the pandemic. And so when I think about the pandemic, we also have other things inside of the pandemic that's happening, right? So we have the epidemic of the racial epidemic inside of the pandemic.
Woo!
Right? So first we have the pandemic, this phenomenon that we have not experienced in our lifetime, called COVID-19, that caused us to be quarantined and all that came with that. The over 1 million people have died. That alone. Every one of us up here have been impacted by COVID or know someone who's been impacted by COVID.
Yeah.
I don't know how many funerals we've been to, right? Just on this, us four.
Yeah.
So now we times or multiply that along with the whole community.
Yeah.
And then the world.
Yeah.
And so the deaths alone, the grief,
Yep.
the murders, as you was talking about earlier, everything that's happening has been so intensified. And so if I have a pre-existing mental health condition, that's been exacerbated. That's one edge. Now, when I wanted to highlight the racism, and I wanted to talk about that epidemic because of the fact that 3 black men are sitting right here. And we had George Floyd that happened while we were all sitting at home and watched this man be murdered. And no one could deny. But yet there was all this tension. And then we start seeing murder after murder after murder of black, brown-skinned people of color. And the fact is, they were being murdered by people who were supposed to protect us. So we had that going on.
Yes, ma'am.
We have this unknown virus that was taking us out like at the drop of a dime. I don't even know what variant we on right now.
Yeah.
So, but at the beginning, you were dropping like that. So you didn't know. We didn't know. We didn't know what to do. We didn't have this, I want to call it a pandemic too. We don't talk about it, but the financial crisis, that's a pandemic right now.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely.
There's the broken healthcare system. There's so many things going on. And then if we just drill it down to our own homes and our relationships, so much happened within these last 3 years. And we're just acting like it's normal. Right? It's business as usual. And it's really has been an impact and has impacted all of us on some kind of level. So it's been major.
Have you seen the bigger impact on? Well, let's talk about children. Because children as well. Let's talk about the children for a minute because of the pandemic. Many of us, I know my children. My son was home had to stay home from school for a long time, and again, he's a high school basketball player. So that in itself, not being able to be out playing, doing all of that, and then being so restricted. And so many other things. I mean, younger children. I mean, so what has the impact been on children and the parents of these people like DeMarcus who had to be at home a lot with their children? It's a whole different world for you. So what impact has it been on the children that you've noticed?
So developmentally, children are supposed to be playing and supposed to be able to go outside and be able to be with their peers. That was the first breach in their development. Is being isolated, being at home, not able to be with their peers, not just their parents, but their peers, because they need that healthy balance. Not being able to go to school, where some kids, depending on how they are developmentally, how they learn, some kids are tactile, some kids are visual, but others need to talk. So it just depends on how they learn. That was stunted. Because you're asking little babies, your babies, to look at a screen
all day.
All day. And children don't have that long attention span. We don't.
Right.
First of all, as adults don't have that long attention
Yeah,
span.
yeah.
And I'd love to see the study on our attention span now versus pre-pandemic.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Because of all the time we have spent on screens
Yeah.
with these Zoom, Doom, and all of that.
Yeah.
But so our children were isolated. They were not able to communicate or, first of all, communicate or even commune with their peers.
Right.
Then they were in their rooms a lot.
Yeah.
They also experienced anxiety. My children experienced anxiety. I have one is in college. She's a senior now in college, but she was in her sophomore year of college. And to snatch them out of that process, that's
Yeah.
another maturation process
Yeah.
that broke for our children who were in college.
Wow.
Because they're learning how to be adults, young adults, and try to detach from their family of origin.
Right.
And then they
And
come
so that
back.
Then come back
then
home.
you bring them back
Yeah.
home, and so that's going on. That tension is there, but
Wow, I
also
didn't think about that.
the fact that the
a lot.
world is not a safe place. It's not as safe as I thought it was, because there's this threat out there.
Right.
And so they had to try to understand and try to process what the world is on their level.
Right.
So if you think we were tripping, if
Right.
we were stressed,
Right.
imagine what these young minds that are still
Absolutely.
being formed and developed understood.
Wow.
One thing I thought about is I saw a baby, I don't know, it was a couple years ago, inside of the pandemic, and the baby had no mask on, but was looking at me like I had a mask on. And I'm like, this baby probably sees a lot of people with masks on, and
Can't
I wonder
recognize
what they
from
think.
pictures.
Right.
Wow.
Babies look for cues in our face, right? And so we talk about attachment. When you attach with your baby, they mimic you. You say, yeah, yeah, baby, and they smile.
Right.
But the baby couldn't even see me smile. I'm smiling with my eyes
And what do they think when they don't see it on?
when they don't see it.
Because now that's abnormal.
Come on. So we think about these babies and what part of their development was
Yeah.
hindered inside of this.
God, I never thought of that.
So-
I definitely.
Go ahead.
Not to cut you, but so I had a COVID baby.
Yes, you sure did.
My son, my youngest son, and he was one where when we finally did get him into daycare, they've noticed that his speech was definitely behind.
Oh, yeah.
Like when he would talk, his words didn't make sense. Everything was just kind of jumbled together. And within a week or two, his speech just shifted.
Yeah.
But then they also noticed that when he was there, because all he knew was his siblings and us.
Yeah.
His siblings were like his only relationship.
Yes.
Right.
So during the pandemic, even when we would see other people, my baby boy was always standoffish. So when he did get into daycare, they often sent photos. He was always isolating himself. So he'd be reading by himself. He'd be at a table
Yes.
by himself.
Yes.
And so that exposure, like you said,
Yes.
being around those peers, that socialization,
Yes.
he literally, what I feared, I believe I talked to y'all about it, was I think that's the one I'm nervous about. Because I don't know what he gonna do. I
it's-
think
you
when
know,
he get in there, it's over with. But
You just said so much, man, that it makes me wonder, okay, so it was truly a ground shifting moment
Absolutely.
in so many ways, to the point of there's no going back. So where do we go from here?
right.
I guess that's the big question for me.
Yes.
Where do
She
we go
said
from here in all segments?
Yeah.
Right.
We
Right.
just forced normalcy again,
Yeah.
in a sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Jeff, let me ask you this question before we go to that, because we're going to deal with our relationships inside of this.
Yes.
But for you, you were during the pandemic. How did you and your wife? Because you're pretty much empty nesters. So it's just what were the differences between how difficult was it for you all in the pandemic? And I know because of your wife's profession, she had to be out in there sometimes. So, but how was it a little different for you all?
Actually, she works. She does nursing from home, teleconferencing.
Okay, good.
So, well, yeah and no, because she had lost so many patients, where she was talking to patients, and then the next week they were gone, and it was a lot of stress for her.
To
the pandemic. So oftentimes I would come home to, she'd be upset because she was losing so many patients.
Yeah.
And then the other part, we do everything together anyway, but it was different because the stuff that we did together, we went out.
Right.
You know, we would run in 2 streets at different restaurants, and you know, we go out to this, we go out to that, and she was like, "No, I'm not going anywhere," and I'm not a stay-home guy.
You're not.
And she's like, "No, I'm not going, and you shouldn't go." So it was stress.
Yeah,
It was stress. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah.
There was some times I was mad, like, look, I'm going. Then I thought to myself, no, I'm not. Because I'm gonna put her in danger and myself in danger and my kids in danger, and that's not fair.
Yeah.
For the sake of just to get out, I'm gonna go out and play Russian roulette? No, that's not cool.
Yeah, I
So
found
it
that
took
too.
some adjusting.
Yeah, that's good. And I found, for me, because I don't mind, I'm kind of a loner anyway. So, and living by myself, I didn't find it very, very difficult because, you know, you come to work, but I did find it difficult because my son, I was reluctant to be out and go, you know, bring my sons around, you know, because the pandemic is out there.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, I want to, as much as you want to see them, like this stuff is out there that you got to be, you know, so from that aspect, it's kind of like, so.
I tell you what really helped me, and helped some of the men we talk about it, our men's group, we were blessed enough to deal with some Kirk Byron Jones books that dealt with stillness. And it was like, this is God sent. Because what we're learning in this book is dealing with how to really adjust in this pandemic.
You had to do that.
So many of us leaned, and I think that's why we're so close now, because we drew on each other's strengths and weaknesses and helped each other along the way. Because, man, it was, hey, man, listen, I'm going to admit it. It was some rough periods.
Oh, yeah.
Because I just wanted to do.
Yes.
And I learned how to be.
Come on now.
More than I ever have before.
Yeah, I think golf, and you're a golfer too.
Oh, yeah.
Golf saved me a lot because it's something that I could get out and do. I could do it by myself. Well, you're getting there. You're not a golfer yet. I could get out and do that and be separated from people. And, you know,
and
so
you're in
all that.
nature.
Yeah.
Sure.
So let's shift gears a little bit. Relationships.
Yes.
What have you seen as far as the strains that the pandemic has put on relationships, first of all?
Good question. I just shameless plug. I'm talking about this because I'm working on a book. Book called Reset.
All right.
Shameless plug.
Right.
That's right.
But in the book,
when it comes out, buy the book.
Come on.
Buy the
Buy
book.
2 copies.
Come on.
It's a yellow cover. Reset.
It may not be yellow.
Oh,
We're
okay.
working on a different color, but
Okay.
don't worry about
All
it.
right.
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
But in the book, I talk about how we were pre-pandemic running all day long, right?
Yep.
All day long. You're at home maybe 4 hours before you go to sleep,
Yeah, it's true.
right?
That's right.
So we're going to eat, we're going to talk,
Yeah.
we may have a little boom boom, and we're going to bed.
Oh,
Little boom boom,
oh,
and we're going to bed. Right?
oh.
In that order. Or maybe not in that order, I don't know. But anyway, that's it, right?
Right.
And it's that pattern. If it was for a lot of people, it was that pattern.
Yeah.
The problem with that is we weren't addressing those issues that we really have at home because we're always out.
Yeah, we could escape.
Come
yeah.
on, we out. So the escape from if it's work, if it's that that nightcap, hanging out with the friends after, and so I'm getting home later and later,
Yes,
you know,
sir.
just enough to go to sleep.
Yes,
We're not
sir.
gonna deal with that thing that we were supposed
No,
to deal
sir.
with.
Right,
So that elephant sits there. And what happened was, while we were in the pandemic,
My God.
we found out this elephant has been living in our house
The whole time.
this whole time. And it's tight up in here because we can't come out and
Yes,
go
sir.
past it and walk past it every day. We're gonna sit here and we gotta look at it every
Yes,
single
sir.
day.
It was in the room.
It was in the room.
Wow.
And
Eating at the table.
Yes,
eating
sir.
at the table.
It was at the room.
If you go downstairs to mask or not mask, to go out to not go out,
Wow.
you know, I can't call who I want to call. I
Right,
can't do
right.
what I want to do. Whatever the things we did to escape and not deal with those
Whatever we did.
relational issues that we
That's
had
good. Yep.
were staring at us in the face.
Yep.
Man.
And they became, for some, unbearable. For some, they reached out. It was a beautiful thing. Yes, my numbers went up.
There was no outlet.
No. And so, and guess what? So we have to
None.
face ourselves.
Wow.
And we have to deal with what's really going on. And so that was, it was a beautiful thing, but also it was a tragic thing sometimes
yeah.
because it did break relationships that were fractured.
Yeah.
And then it also was but it also helped those who needed help, who wanted the help,
Yeah.
and say, you know what, can you help? And let's see if we can breach this.
Yeah.
Let's work on this elephant. Let's really address this elephant. So it was an elephant addressing time, or it was an elephant smothering time. It really was.
Now, did you find that it actually, the pandemic, the seclusion, having to be quarantined, did it actually help some people? Because if you're always going with your desire, because to your point, some people you are escaping, you can't escape. So being secluded with somebody can be devastating to your life if you're used to not dealing with problems.
Right.
But there's some people whose busy lifestyles just kept them on the road or out. But now some people were forced to now work from home.
Yes.
So it kept you in a space with a person you really wanted to be in a space with.
Yes.
So did you find in some scenarios where it actually helped some people?
Absolutely. So a benefit was that it did, at Jeff's point, Pastor Jeff, excuse me, Bishop Jeff, I'm sorry.
Jeff is fine.
Sorry, sir.
It's all good.
At Jeff's point, his wife worked at home.
Yeah.
So in a lot of instances, both of us were working at home.
Yeah.
What couples found is a new way of helping and serving one another.
Yeah.
Where
boom,
you may have to, you know what?
Well, I made lunch more.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
And
made
so
lunch more.
You get to actually see your significant other in action.
Yeah.
That's something that you don't normally see because we don't get to see each other all day. You don't know who's out there and how you saving the world. We don't know.
Yeah.
So you get to see that person in
you know
action.
what? That's true. I did. I would. Well, I wouldn't listen to calls because there's HIPAA laws and privacy stuff in our offices away. But I would hear her when she come down, on a break, just talk about what she was going through and how she was feeling, and it gave me more of a sense of, okay, I got to make things a little helpful around here. I got to take some stress off of her, but at the same time, she also knew what I was dealing with because even though we shifted to home, we were still, I would say, to be honest with you, I think we worked harder during the pandemic from home than we did here because we were very intentional about making sure that people were being served, being touched, and this, that, and the other. So both of us, to your point, we got a chance to see how each other really do stuff. And it gave us a newfound appreciation for what we do, but also how we could help one another along the way. Like I said, hey, at the end of the day, I was able to put dinner on, have lunch, and things happened pretty quickly. We had more conversation. It took a moment because believe it or not, I'm not a talker. When I get home, I'm more of a comfort person.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So that took some adjusting. And then what I talk about is different from what my wife talks about.
Yes.
So that took a lot, as you can imagine. So it was always, man, pray for my wife, man.
I always do.
We do.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, trust me, we all do. We already know.
Always.
Poor girl, man. Oh, God.
But that compassion and that connection and intimacy that a lot of people developed was beautiful.
Yeah.
So there was that reconnection, oh wow, I really do like this person.
Right.
Yeah.
And learning new things, and so it was a great time, I think, for a lot of people.
Staying on relationships. We notice how you see it. It seems like you just see it so much more, and I don't know if it's a result of the pandemic and the added emotional stress. When relationships end,
Oh yeah.
you see people doing all sorts of horrible things, from assaulting, stalking, even shooting, killing, in extreme cases, the significant others because they can't cope with it. So have you seen an increase in that? And what can people do? What are some simple things that people can do when relationships don't go like you thought, especially in this pandemic? It's difficult, probably difficult enough in a normal time. But to your point earlier, the pandemic added another layer of stress. And then with the financial issues and racial all those things that we've been seeing. So how do people navigate through that? Because it's never easy, but it's definitely not easy during this time.
Absolutely. So if you are divorcing, if you are disengaging in a relationship, the first thing someone should do is to check in with themselves. So what is going on with me? How am I feeling? Is this healthy?
Yeah.
And then also check in with someone that you trust.
Yeah.
So that's the second thing. Check in with someone that you trust and let them know about what's happening. Because oftentimes we'll isolate. You don't tell anybody what's going on. It could be fear, shame, because, and I want to hit on social media because that also played a major impact on all of us during the pandemic. We were fixed to our phones and to our TVs.
That was our community.
And that was our community. And so we saw a lot of shaming, though. We saw a lot of great things, but also a lot of shaming when it came to relationships.
Yeah.
You know, everybody was a narcissist. Everybody was was crazy. Everybody
Yeah.
was everything,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
You know, that's good. You bring up that point, and you see it. I'm glad you said that on social media. The danger in that with relationships. You see people in good times.
Right.
Yes.
All of the pictures and my babe, my boo, all of these things. And then when it goes bad, all that energy is still put on social media. But now they're talking about how, you know, and it's almost passive aggressive where people say, you know, don't let people take your peace away. Don't let people, you know, take you for granted. You know, don't take my kindness for weakness. And you know it's directed towards the person that they just broke up with. So if you got somebody on the other end of that relationship who is struggling with that and did not want it to end, and now you not only have to deal with it, now you got to see on social media and your friends reminding
you see the whole round of things.
Absolutely.
You know, the thing is also there was one of the problems that I saw and dealt with some couples was the comparisons. You know, everybody was my babe, my boo, we hanging out, we doing this, and couples thought like, okay, so what are we doing wrong? Why are we not living that kind of life? They compared, and it was like, hey, that ain't every day. Okay, let's deal with some realistic stuff.
Yes.
So I've, you know, we're dealing with counseling, and for me, counseling's played a big part because this was different for me. Like I'm an outdoors person, I'm an out there person, and you know, my wife and I, we were used to empty nesters, but we found our niche in empty nesting. You know, because before it was taking the kids here, taking the kids there. We were living life according to the kids' schedule. And then we were empty nesters, but now we're home with no outlet, empty nesters.
Gotcha.
And it was like, I knew that I was not normal.
Yeah.
And I sought professional help.
Gotcha.
Like, it was a thing of, hey, I can't lose me in this process.
Yes.
Help me remain the best me.
Gotcha. And that's the
professional
thing.
stuff is big.
I saw a lot of people who, well, I did have people who come to me and say, I need to talk because I'm feeling some feelings that I know are not normal or within a normal range. And so if you are having homicidal feelings or even suicidal feelings, you need to reach out. So if you start to feel that, and then if you notice like a friend or someone you notice your friend or family member, ask them, hey, are you okay? Let's check in. How you doing? And so those are two things you should do. People who had mental health issues even before, and that isolation, and then the problems feel like it's no way out. And so it becomes a very volatile situation. And that's where you need to reach out.
Gotcha.
Brothers, it's okay, man, to get.
Yes, please.
It's cool. It's
and
all
women.
right. And women,
Reach out.
How do you know when we talk about like relationships, and how do you know when it's a normal? Because there's a normal, if you care about something, there's a normal sadness or you know grieving process that people go through. Especially again, think about this pandemic in the middle. How do you know when it is going into that, you know, okay, now this is more than that. This is unhealthy. You know what I mean? Like, you know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How do you know that kind of, if you're starting to do this, you're probably on that other end of the spectrum where you probably need to do something, or at least start talking to somebody.
So if you're ruminating, meaning you're continuing to think the same thing over and over again, all day, every day, that's something that you might want to check in with somebody.
Wow.
So if all day, every day, you're thinking the same thing, and it's not good, and if you're thinking it's not good. So this person's out to get me, or I'm gonna get them. I'm gonna get them back. I'm gonna get that person back, or this person's gonna get me. If it feels like everything is unsafe all the time, all day, every day, it's time to talk to somebody. It's time to reach out to somebody. If you do not have the energy or feel like getting out of your bed, if you don't feel like getting out of that bed, which I mean, hey, I don't want to get out of bed, but we get tired. But if you just don't have it to get out of the bed, multiple days, you need to check in with somebody. If your diet has changed, either you're eating way more than you should or eating way less than you should, check in. Let's see if we can check in with somebody. If you started to isolate yourself, and by that, a lot of us like to be alone. I'm a good person. I like to be alone. But if you don't talk to anybody, no one has heard from you at all, it's time to start checking in to see, okay, what's going on. Maybe somebody had to reach out for you that time, reach out to you. But if you notice yourself starting to isolate, you don't find joy or peace and happiness in anything. So whatever is coming up, nothing's making any kind of, gives you any kind of happiness or joy. Nothing gives you anything. You don't feel like doing anything. Let's start checking in to see, okay, what's going on.
Yeah, I think you got to be careful too of the type of entertainment you surround yourself with too. I know there was just certain movies that I just wouldn't watch.
You mean in the pandemic?
Yeah, during the pandemic. Like if it was, I like the gangster movies or something, foreign intrigue or something like that. I didn't want to watch that because it took me to a dark place. And I wanted upbeat comedy, nice stuff, to keep me upbeat. And also, I go back to it. I was heavy in school, and we're dealing with Black history, we're dealing with post-traumatic slave syndrome, we're dealing with all the things that took place during our history, and I'm in this pandemic. I can't get out the house, and it's like, oh God, I need an outlet. And that's really where I discovered my love for nature and how nature gave me the peace that I needed to cope in this. So I think, for relationships in this pandemic, many of us found different ways that we did not know existed on how to coexist if we were intentional about doing it.
If we were,
if we wanted to, if we said to ourselves, this is the situation, we've got to make this work. We've got to find some ways. We got some options here. We could talk to somebody, talk to each other, but let's admit when it gets to the point where you find yourself at that point where, okay, I don't know what to do now. Let's admit that.
That's a good. So I
substance
guess
use too. I meant to add that substance use.
So
now a libation here and there, right? Now, but if we having libations every day just to get up or to go to sleep,
that's not libation.
No,
so
that's beyond.
To Jeff, he brought up a good point. So I guess somebody going through that scenario, they probably shouldn't be sitting at home listening to the blues music all day long in the middle of a breakup or watching certain movies that
they need some house music.
And music is therapy. But like to your point, it's when you start to notice everything you do is dark. Everything is So that's it. And it was what we put in our eye gate, what we put in our ear gate. Is very important. Very important. Very important. It was important during that time. I told one of my children to you have to get off Twitter because it was during a volatile time and she was just going through texting and all the kids because that age they're very active in what's happening socially. They go in. And so because it's their life. So I said you had to take some break from this. You had to take a break from social media Some of us needed a break from social media, take a break, and get back to.
Can I ask
just
a question?
What do we like?
At what point do you see beyond counseling, and then some people need medication?
Absolutely. So let me say this. As a counselor, some people need medication first to regulate your mind so that you're able to go through the therapeutic process. Process.
Yeah.
So I think we think, you need to take some meds.
I would not have thought that. I would have thought, like Jeff said, that you go through therapy, and then if that doesn't work, you get medication. But you're saying you might need that to help you be able to sit through therapy.
Absolutely. So if you have PTSD, if you have some kind of, it depends on the traumas. It depends on what you have. Yes, there's medication. Medication's not bad. Let me say that. Because I think that's the big stigma, right? They think I'm crazy. I got to take the crazy pills, or I got to go see somebody. We need, sometimes, biologically and chemically, there may be an imbalance. There may be something going on where our body is in this constant state of flight, or freeze. So our autonomic system, I'm gonna get it out. Our autonomic system is activated. And that means everything's a danger. And I cannot sit here and have a coherent conversation with you because I'm watching what's going over there in the corner. Something going on over there. I gotta figure out what that is because something may be trying to get me. And so it depends on how I have been activated and what's going on with me. It depends on what's going on with me and how I'm activated and what I need to get me back to a stable, safe place. And that's my body. So triggers, we hear this word trigger, like y'all stop saying trigger too. I'm just tired of people saying trigger. I really am. We say trigger a lot. But let me tell you what a trigger is. A trigger is it's a bodily response to a activating event around us. And what our body is doing is saying, I need to get safe. So it's a bodily, it's emotional, and a emotional response in our body to what's going on.
So it's not good to use that word?
Well, a couple of reasons we try not to use that word. One is because if you die by suicide, the trigger is what killed you.
Okay.
So when we say trigger,
I never thought about that.
I didn't
that can also quote unquote trigger people.
And I hear the word a lot. Just
I even use it.
People just say, it's one of my triggers. Or people say it about themselves. I never thought, but wow.
This is a whole lot of words that we use, and I understand, and I love that we're having this conversation around mental health. Like we hear narcissists all the time. Everybody has, if you believe it or not, all of us are on the spectrum when it comes to narcissism.
Absolutely, I believe that.
So there's a spectrum.
Yeah, it's just to what level?
Yeah.
To what level?
Absolutely.
Okay. These words
good.
that we use, I just try to explain them. So, trigger is an activating response in our body to something that happened. And it may have been an environment, could have been something that happened in the family, could have been some kind of traumatic experience that happened. But when I'm in this environment, that activated me. And so now I'm activated.
So that deals with the epigenetic stuff that we talk about.
Yeah, okay, we could talk about that too, absolutely.
Yeah.
So as African Americans, we all have activating events, right?
Yeah.
So, but when our body is responding to that memory, to that, not to the event, but our body holds memories. So all of our bodies have it. They hold memories, and then our parents'
the gene
come on,
what to do.
Look at this deep brother here.
Wow.
It's the cell that tells the gene in the DNA how to respond based upon past practices that were incorporated from years ago in environment and family and how you came up and all that kind of
It plays
stuff.
a part. And so, but our autonomic nervous system is what's activated when we perceive a threat, when the brain perceives a threat. It's not even, it's automatic. And so your brain says, you know what, it's time to fight, it's time to flight, or it's time to freeze.
Wow.
There's some deep stuff, man.
That's good.
Some deep stuff going on here, man.
Look, Sherice Cross, thank you so much for joining us today.
Gems,
that's why we have you here. We always want to deal with emotional stability, emotional health.
Yeah.
It's one of the things we just need to all get better at.
Yes.
You always help us remove some of the stigmatism and some of the stereotypes that are out there about therapy and counseling and you know, some of the myths about suicide and all these things. So it's always a joy to have you here with us, and we look forward to always having you back again. Look, if you out there need help, reach out, get somebody to talk to.
And if you are a suicidal crisis, if you're in a suicidal space or crisis, just dial or call or text 988. I want to put that out. That's a new number. You don't have to do all these numbers. Don't call 911. 988. We have professional counselors and people who are ready to help. So 988 is the new number.
All right, you got that? 988. If you need help, look, there's nothing shameful about it. It may not be pleasant. It may be embarrassing to you, but what's most important is that you get the help that you need. Again, thank you, Jeff, DeMarcus. Thank you all for being here as always. Sherice Cross, thank you for filling in for Greg Kirkland. Thank you all for joining us on the conversation. We will see you next week. Take care of yourself.